Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the United Stand. It's Sunday Night Live. Lots to talk about. I'm joined by Kev, Ricky and Beth. How are you all doing?
Fine, thanks.
Very well.
Beth I'm all right. Not feeling the happiest after yesterday, but I'm okay.
Well, Beth was panicking earlier because it was like it was about 10 to 7. And she said, "Where's the link?" And I said, "Oh, you're a bit eager, aren't you?" She said, "Was 10 minutes." And obviously she'd forgotten the clocks had gone back. And
I've not even looked at my phone. I've just got this clock. And
I tell you what, that's the sort of thing I used to do when I was young, to be honest. I felt a bit jealous, really, that, you know, carefree and young, you don't even know that the clocks had come back. There's just no way in my life. I knew first thing this morning. But, changing microwave clocks, etc. But, look, the title of the show is Ollie's Uncertain Future. I think some people think we're jumping on the Ollie out crowd. No, we're not jumping on that. What we're saying is that I think that what I delve into is, there is an uncertain future. We had a very good result against PSG and a lot of people commended Ollie. And then he picked a team yesterday that obviously not a lot of people were happy with. And I think the thing I want to delve in tonight is to where are we with Ollie? What is the future for this season that is wide open? I mean, literally, if we had our game in hand and beat Burnley, we're 3 points off the top. You know, we're 6 points off Everton, who will be top no matter what happens tonight with anybody else or tomorrow with Spurs. So we're 6 points off the top despite a bad season. And that's a real gravity pull, really, to reality, that if we can get this right, I still think we can have a really, really good season. I'll start off with you, Kev, because obviously we've had the fan cams of Ricky and of Beth before. In relation to, obviously, we haven't spoken since last Sunday. PSG really good. I saw your van cam about that. And then the game yesterday, what do you think Ollie was at yesterday? Do you think he was a bit scared? He spoke about last time we played PSG 18 months ago and they were tired, and but then he went for it with 25 minutes to go. But, you know, should we have not gone it from minute one? What did you think about the team yesterday?
Yeah, you go from the high in Paris, which I think was a fantastic result. I think a lot of people tried talking it down, saying Paris Saint-Germain, not, the same team as they were last year. They were second best team in the Champions League last season. Let's get it right. They've got two of the best players in the world playing. We did an absolute job on them. I think that's testament to Solskjaer and the way he set up the team. When I first seen the team, I looked at it and I thought, ooh, I'm nervous. Twanzabi's not played much football. And just looking through the team, the way it was set up. But the master plan, it was perfected. We got the result. And then yesterday, I see the team sheet again, and I think I'm going with Solskjaer now. I think, he's got it right in Paris, and we need to trust him. But there was certain tweaks that he's made in that team. We spoke about it last week. How the hell has Donny van der Beek not played in either of them games? We've all said we want to see him in that team. And without trying to trigger Ricky too much, I am going to mention Dan James yesterday. I think Solskjaer paid Chelsea far too much respect yesterday. I think the telling sign for me was at the final whistle as well. Solskjaer looked the happier out the two managers. Lampard didn't look thrilled by a point at Old Trafford, whereas Solskjaer kind of, probably, and he spoke about it after the game. It's a point. And for me, it's 2 points missed out on there. I really think Chelsea were there for the taking. Yeah, Rashford had his chance in that, but yeah, just disappointed. I'm usually a glass half, full kind of guy, but looking back at that yesterday, I just think it would have been a great opportunity because there's no doubt that United and Chelsea are going to be fighting to get in the top four this season, just to lay a marker down. And I feel like it was just a chance missed. The substitutions he made, yeah, they were great, but just too late on in the game to make any kind of an impact on it. It was a tight, tough game.
Yeah, Ricky, we spoke last night on your fan cam and you were like, voice of reason, really, it's we're not in terrible situation. Why do you think, though? Because obviously even Ollie has sort of come back at some of his critics and said, with my subs, I tried to win it in the last half an hour. Why do you think he didn't try to win it from minute one? Do you think he just thought Chelsea'd fall into the trap of last year and we could hit him on the break, which Lampard clearly didn't want to fall into, and ultimately we cancelled each other out? I think Lampard was happy. He just didn't want to get caught on the break like last year and have loads of the ball, and basically cancelled each other out. Why do you think Ollie did that? Do you think it is a hangover from PSG? He mentioned the tiredness of 18 months ago, which I found a bit odd, but he spoke about a lot of people being tired. He spoke about Pogba being tired. He spoke about Cavani not being ready. And then, like Kev says, Van der Beek, I don't know whether he's tired. So, yeah, what do you think his approach was yesterday?
Well, to put it very simply, Mark, you said why didn't he go for it from minute one, and you and Kev have both said that he went for it when he brought his subs on. I just want to touch on the substitutions, Kev. You said like he did it too late. 32 minutes left he brought them on. In the Europa League, he was bringing people on with 3 minutes to go. He brought certain players on with 3 minutes to go that I like, and people, I think Mark included, said, the subs didn't do much. You did say that, didn't you, Mark? And they got 3 minutes. They got 32 minutes yesterday. It's plenty of time for substitutions to take an effect on a game. More than they usually get. And when I say more than they usually get, I mean with most clubs in most games, not just with us. But getting back to your point, Mark, to start the game off with all those attacking players, that, like you've just said, he did go for it in the last half hour. We ended up with his normal team, if you like, that played against Spurs and that played against Palace. We ended up with Greenwood on the right. We ended up with Rashford on the left. Obviously, Marshall's not there, but we did end up with a centre forward. We ended up with Pogba and Bruno in midfield. He simply reverted to, when I say exactly, obviously he couldn't pick Marshall, or else it probably would have been Marshall instead of Cavani. But he simply reverted to the exact same team that got beat 6-1 by Spurs and got beat 3-1 by Palace. And if he would have started with that team, we probably would have lost. That's why he didn't start with that team.
It is interesting. I know you've mentioned many a time Pogba and Bruno probably can't play in the same team. I read an article today. I'm trying to remember the journalist because I want to shout. I think it was Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic. And he was basically saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the moment is comfortable using Pogba as a cameo player, Beth, because Bruno is a more important player than Pogba, and he, maybe doesn't feel that he can play them both in the same team because it worked for a little bit after lockdown. But then if you think about West Ham and Southampton at Old Trafford at the end of last season, they pressed us high up the pitch, and we didn't make much of an impact with Pogba and Bruno. And then this season, it didn't work against Palace, and it didn't work against Brighton, and it didn't work against Spurs. So that actually at the moment, Ollie isn't using Pogba because he wants to use those two holding players, which is something Ricky's mentioned before, and one of Bruno. Is that a worry to you that effectively we're benching some players like Pogba and Van der Beek to play a system that protects our defence, but then ultimately against a team like Chelsea, you're playing more of a system than your individual talents?
I mean, it is a bit of a worry. I'd like Solskjaer to try and find a team or like a formation that you can fit both Pogba and Bruno into, because I think they're both amazing talents. I mean, Bruno's on better form at the moment, and Pogba did work well against PSG as a sub off the bench. But in a game like Chelsea, I would like to see him start. I mean, it doesn't even have to be Pogba though. The team that he put out for me against Chelsea, yeah, it might work against Newcastle. You don't see Dan James and Mata in that team. You don't see them going on, pushing on, getting a goal. You don't see creativity from Mata unless he can sit on the edge of the box for a while and pick people out. He didn't have much time because Chelsea was straight on him with the five at the back. So I don't know what Van der Beek would have to do to get in that team, or Van der Beek, do you say? Because, I mean, if you play Van der Beek in either of them positions, surely he's going to offer a little bit more than Dan James and Mata. I mean, I don't see really what Dan James is going to do. And I know what Ricky thinks about the shape and everything, but surely can't you coach Van der Beek to keep that shape going, and then he can pick out little pockets. We needed some creativity. The reason why we didn't win the game, I mean, we kept solid at the back because Chelsea were playing a low block 5 and they didn't really have much going forward, but we didn't have anything in the final third. Our fullbacks are too scared to bomb on, and we had no one in the midfield for the creativity. So I think that's what we're missing.
It's interesting. I'm just going to touch that. We may as well just do this now. I was going to carry on with that into another area, but let me just address Donny Van der Beek. I spoke about it this morning. I'll start off with you, Beth. Why is Donny Van der Beek not playing, in your opinion? Why do you think he's not using him? I mean, I said this morning I would have started Donny Van der Beek in 3 positions in that starting team over McTominay, Mata, and James. So that's 3 places I would have found him a starting place. And also, then off the bench, I would have brought him on over Pogba and Greenwood. So that's 5 opportunities he had to get him minutes. He didn't get 1 yesterday. Why do you think it is that Ollie's not using a player that's been on Dutch international duty, that was training in August? He's got no fitness issues. So why is he not getting game time, do you think?
I mean, I think it's one of 3 reasons. I think one of the reasons could be it wasn't Ollie's signing. It was the board trying to get him on the cheap. I mean, we know that Ollie wanted Jack Grealish, so maybe Ollie doesn't fancy him. another of the reasons could have been what his agent said after the Brighton game. I mean, he was kind of questioning Ollie's coaching there, so maybe Ollie didn't want to put him on to kind of prove a point. I don't know. And other than that, I don't see why he wouldn't play him. I mean, maybe he thinks he can't play at the same time as Bruno and Pogba in that midfield, but I think he could. I mean, he played in different positions at Ajax, so I don't see why against. I mean, maybe a team of lower quality, maybe he doesn't try him in certain roles like that. I mean, surely he's got more to offer than what the two wingers had to offer yesterday. And even McTominay, I thought he was quite poor on the ball. I thought he got skinned quite a few times. He gave it away. We weren't winning the midfield battle yesterday. So I think McTominay was kind of an extra man that we maybe didn't need in there.
Have you heard anything, Kev, from your window cleaner at Old Trafford? Any big, or just your opinion on why he's not getting any game time? We haven't heard from your window cleaner for a few years.
I've not seen him myself, to be honest. He used to be good for all the big scoops, but no, I mean, listening at that, it's quite interesting what Beth just said, actually, about the fact that maybe Manchester United made this signing. You know, it wasn't actually Solskjaer that said yes. Go out and get that type of player, because I've always had this theory about Pogba that under Mourinho, because Mourinho never really warmed to Pogba, and I was always of the opinion that maybe it was Ed Woodward that got this kind of idea in his head through an agent or whatever, and said, you know, Paul Pogba would be interested in coming back, and it was actually Woodward that signed Pogba, you know, for his kind of ego trip, and because the pressure was on him, and everybody's Woodward out, Glazer's out, you know, this, that, and Woodward is useless. He can't pull off any deals and stuff. So I think that was his kind of signature sort of signing at the time. But yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting that you say that about Van der Beek, because I do not understand why he's not getting game time. But Solskjaer was quick yesterday after the game. He must have knew that questions were being asked, to come out and say that there's plenty of football to be played this season. United are in lots of cup competitions, and he will be given his chance. So I think in that sense, we have to sort of sit back and go, right, but if we're another month down the line and he's still not established or getting a chance, or even 10 minutes here and there, you've got to start worrying and asking questions, right? Like exactly how we're asking questions now, because it doesn't stack up.
It doesn't. I mean, the one comparison I remembered, I was talking about it on the watch along yesterday, Ricky, was Mkhitaryan. I remember him coming in, and he was Mourinho signing, but he took a long time to pick him. Do you? I mean, I know you want Van der Beek to start, and you want him to start in the Bruno position and be given an opportunity. We spoke about it a few times, but you know, to be fair, he started Mata. He was loyal to Mata and James yesterday. He's been loyal to McTominay. These were players that sort of, well, certainly McTominay and Fred let him down in the run-in last year. They were bloody awful. Van der Beek's not really let Ollie down, and you'd think he would have been giving him some time. Do you think? Have you got a theory on that, or in your head, what are you thinking it's about?
One of my favourite sayings is that you can only play 11. So that's the first most important thing. We've got that much of an array of players, certainly in certain positions. And to try and shoehorn him into a position that's not really... I take Beth's point. You know, I've no doubt in him. Look, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that he's not a better player than Dan James. Not for 1 minute. But you don't...
You can't say that about your godson.
I'm not saying that for 1 minute. He's when you're playing... When you've got beat 6-1 and you've got beat 3-1 and you decide to go with a little bit more of a defensive mindset, you need players doing jobs in your team that you're not asking them to do, that is not natural to them. You don't want to put Donny van de Beek on the left wing and say, I want you to track Reece James every single where he goes. I've just watched the game again today. Reece James got one crossing in the first hour while Dan James was on the pitch, and he got 3 crosses in half an hour after Dan James was taken off the pitch. Now, people don't like it. Lots of people saying, why is he going on about Dan James? I'm not saying Dan James is the best left winger in the world. I'm not saying he's the best left winger in Manchester. But we've set our team out to be difficult to beat after those first 3 games. And if you look at the first 3 games, they were all a disaster. We were so lucky to beat Brighton. They hit the post 5 times. You know, we got beat 3-1. We got beat 6-1. Since then, He's gone with a more defensive mindset. Okay, James only played against Newcastle and he played against Chelsea. But if you look at the 3 results since he's gone with a more defensive mindset, we've won 4-1, we've won 2-1, and we've drawn 0-0, but at least with a good team.
Does that not feed into these Ollie outers, though, and of which we've got a few watching tonight who are saying, well, if the only way we can get a result against Chelsea is to play Dan James and a system, I don't see Liverpool or Man City or even maybe Spurs now. Why is Ollie, with all the talent he's got, not able to construct a system that gets his best players in the team, that defends well, but also attacks well? Because I agree with you. I think Dan James, for whatever he does going forward, he will do the defensive work. And McTominay and Fred will as well. But look, your man Matic, my man Van der Beek, Pogba. A lot of people like Pogba. There's a lot of players on the bench yesterday that are better than players that started. So I agree with you. He's picking a system, but why can't he pick a system that gets the best out of his players? And is that a failing on Ollie?
No, not at all. Not at all. We've got beat 6-1. We've got beat 3-1. Try and think what I'm saying here. 6-1 we got beat, and we got beat 3-1 by Crystal Palace. We had to tighten up. We had to go more defensive for however long it lasts, a short while. And it's done, and it's worked wonders. I don't understand why people don't get it. We've beat Newcastle 4-1, we beat PSG 2-1, and we've drawn 0-0 with Chelsea. It's absolutely worked wonders compared to losing 6-1 and losing 3-1. We should have got beat about 6-2 by Brighton. It's actually working wonders. I don't get it. I really don't. And it's working wonders. He played a 4-4-2 against Newcastle with two Matic and James wide who helped the fullbacks a lot. Then he's played those 2 players against Chelsea. Okay, we've not managed to nick the win. But all right, and against PSG, he played with a back 5 and still played with McTominay and Fred just in front of the back 5. He's got to do that, and it gives you the springboard to actually go forward. I mean, apart from yesterday, look at the amount of goals we scored. 6 goals in 2 games. More goals in those 2 games than the previous 3 games with all the stars playing.
Yeah, but 3 of the goals against Newcastle came with Dan James off the pitch. It was Van der Beek and Pogba, wasn't it?
I'm not saying it's to do with Dan James being on the pitch. I'm not saying that. But don't forget this. When you're playing, when you set yourself up properly, like against Newcastle, we've run them ragged for 70 minutes, and then the superstars come on when they're tiring. You know what I mean? And that might have been his idea yesterday. And we did dominate the last 20 minutes. It was Rashford's shot that got saved around the post. It was a perfectly decent performance yesterday. It was a great performance at Newcastle. It was a great performance at PSG, and he's had to do that by going more defensively. He had 5 at the back plus 2 holding midfield players, which is 7 defensive-minded players. And then yesterday there was 7 defensive-minded players, and the 7 defensive-minded players yesterday was the back 4, McTominay and Fred, and Dan James. Then you've got Matic, who's creative, and you've got Bruno at number 10, and you've got Rashford at number 9. And I don't understand why people can't see it, and you can't shoehorn people in. You can't. It's beyond. Like I've just said, Van der Beek is a miles better footballer. He's a miles better footballer. There's no point putting him in the team and saying whenever Reece James is up that field, you've got to be with him. You know what I mean? And don't get too far forward too often, and make sure you give the ball easy when you get it. Do you know what I mean? He wants to play in the position that he likes to play. And we need to put a team out. To answer another question that you said, Matt, you said, can we not organize? We've got too many good players. You can only play 11. I'll say that time and time again. It's impossible for us to have a system that all our best players in. We've got too many good players anyway. We've got more than 11. You know what I mean? So they can't all play.
Yeah. I want to go through all of you and ask what your best 11 is, because I think a lot of people at the moment are trying to get their head around that. So think on that. I'll give you a couple of minutes each, and I'll ask you a different question, Beth and Kev, while you're thinking about it, Ricky and everyone. But Ricky's obviously there saying system, and he said it in the international break. And to be fair, Ollie's gone with, I remember Flex sending me an 11 that Ricky spoke about in the international break, and it's not far off, to be honest, with this Fred and McTominay thing. To you, are you a system, or are you get your best players on the pitch kind of? Oh, you're a girl kind of girl.
I mean, obviously you've got to play a system, but we can't go forward benching our best talents. We just can't. That's not a plausible way to go forward. And I see what Ricky's saying. Like, we did need to cover up our defence. We were leaking goals, but part of that is our fitness was bad when we first came back. I mean, 6-1 to Tottenham, there was mistakes, there was individual mistakes, and it was a bit of a freak result. But again, Brighton, we were quite poor. I agree with that. We did need to get our shape going forward against Newcastle. But the one thing that annoyed me is that against Chelsea, I feel like with a few different players on, we could have got the 3 points. I mean, Ollie, you could tell he was playing to maybe to get a draw. And the problem is with the shape, you've got nothing going forward for you. Like Bruno had like barely any options. I mean, it's all right not conceding any goals, but you're not going to score them until your players come on at the end. And then even then it's not guaranteed because they've not got as much time as everybody else. I mean, it's one of them. I don't think the team that he played yesterday is a future team that can win us titles and can be successful. No, I mean, it worked against Newcastle. You've got to applaud Ollie for that. It did work in that system. But, I mean, 0-0 isn't the worst result, but it was boring to watch. We had nothing going forward until our subs came on. And I thought if we did have them players on earlier who could unlock the doors in the Chelsea midfield, then maybe we could have gone on and scored, because I think Fred and McTominay at the back in that little pivot thing, they give the back four cover as it was. I mean, it was only Matic and Pogba before. I mean, Matic is obviously a CDM, but is Pogba really a CDM? No. I think Fred and McTominay do give that cover to the back four, so we could afford to have another creative player going forward, and we could have got maybe created more chances and got a goal and could have got the 3 points. You're missing out on them 2 extra points that you can take off Chelsea. And I don't think we should be playing for a draw. I don't think we should be scared of going forward against them.
It's not that you're playing for a draw, Beth. It really isn't. It's your way of giving yourself your best possible chance of winning that game. And your best possible chance of winning that game is to keep it tight, and not be out of the game. Not be out of the game after 40 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes. We were out of the game against Palace after, 70 minutes? We were out of the game against Spurs after 35, 40 minutes. It's not that you're playing for a draw. You're starting off to make sure you're still in the game with half an hour to go. It is actually his tactic and his idea and his method of trying to win the game. It's not trying to draw the game, it's trying to win the game.
But why are we doing that? I think that's... Go on, Beth.
So do you think if Van der Beek would have played on the side instead of Dan James or Matter, we would have conceded?
This is reasonable. Look, it just changes. The game just changes. You never know. But
I don't think we do concede, and I think we have a better chance going forward. That's all I'm saying.
We'd have a better chance of scoring.
3 points. That's what I was trying to say. I don't think it's all that Dan James.
Let me mention one more thing to you then, Beth. You just said we only created chances after the subs came on. The best chance we had in the game was before the subs came on, and one Matter created it.
I know that's one chance, so you can't be relying on
the best chance that we had in the game. If Rashford would have took his chance, Chelsea have got to come out. It's your tactics. It's how you're playing. If Rashford takes that chance, Chelsea have to try a bit to score a goal. The game becomes more open.
I mean, for me, I'd just like to see Van der Beek running into the space behind the Chelsea back four and creating space for Rashford, which I feel like he could have done and would have given us more attacking option. At the end of the day, we didn't score any goals with them players on the pitch. So.
You know what I don't like, Kev, and Ricky sort of hits the nail on the head there, is that, Ollie sends a system out there to be in the game with half an hour to go. Is that not the issue? Is that mindset not the reason why a lot of people are not happy? Because we're Man United at home to Chelsea. I don't think Klopp or Pep or, even Arteta these days, certainly not probably Ancelotti. I don't think they send their team out to be in the game with half an hour to go and to just keep it tight. And I think, Ricky is right. I think that's what we did do yesterday. And I think that what frustrates people when they look at the bench and they go, and forget what people think about James and Matter and McTominay. The reality is you look at them and then you look at your bench and you go, this ain't, so is it a system or should we be getting the best players on the pitch for you?
For me, it's a strange season because there's no fans in grounds. So you're getting these freakish results. Obviously, we were on the back of a 6-1 hammering by Tottenham. They come with no fear. It's totally changed the way football's being played at the minute. So for me, what I would have said is like United, it's like you're the home team. The emphasis is on you to go out and attack. You know, yesterday against Chelsea, you go out and do it. For me, playing them two, and I love McTominay and Fred. I think they're two cracking players. But did we really need to play them two, you know, shielding the back? Maybe one of them, sound. I'm happy with that. But two of them, you know, and then you're not even shoehorning Van der Beek in, or if you want to even play Pogba, somebody a bit further forward who can unlock a defence. And yeah, again, it's Manchester United at home to Chelsea. If this was away, I can totally understand it. You go there with a game plan. You still want to be in it with, you know, 30 minutes to go, whatever. Sir Alex Ferguson used to do it all the time. The big games, derbies against City, against the likes of Liverpool. It was all about staying in it up until that time. Try and take your chances towards the end of the game. Bang, you're done. 3 points. And for me, it was just a bit negative the way United set up yesterday. I totally understand what Ricky's saying as well about in-game management and trying to get through at that point. But for me, it's Chelsea. We're the home team yesterday. Surely the emphasis is on us to kind of go for it, but not leave ourselves open to where, you know, invite Chelsea pressure on. But looking at the two midfields, I just think McTominay and Fred was just a kind of, you know, you're looking at it thinking, come on, man, you know, we could have fitted somebody else in here and give it a bit more of a go.
I'll tell you what, Ricky, that, you know, I know you were nodding your head about the McTominay and Fred thing. I don't think you were nodding your head about the personnel. I think you're nodding your head about having the two there, because we spoke about this, and I was not impressed with McTominay yesterday for the same reasons Beth said. I also saw an infographic on passing today and passing lanes, and you could take McTominay out of that team for all the passing he did, and it wouldn't have made any difference. His passing brought nothing. It brought nothing going forward. He gave the ball away a lot. And we spoke about this last night. I mean, again, it's a player that's not getting mentioned because Van der Beek is the fashionable one, and Pogba's the big name, and Greenwood's the young star. But I personally don't understand why Matic couldn't have played yesterday instead of McTominay, McTominay's played 3 games in 6 days. So it's like, that is probably not on anybody's agenda at the moment because they're not thinking about that. But to me, I knew it when I watched the game. McTominay didn't really bring much to the game other than another midfielder in front of the back four, which does bring a lot. It brings protection. But if he'd had a half decent passing game yesterday, we would have had a better performance yesterday. So I also think that again, it goes back to, you know, I know you're pro system, but actually you can get better players into that system, and one of them would be a player that you're a big fan of, which is Matic.
100% every day. I'd have Matic in the team every day of the week. I always say to you, I'd have Matic with either McTominay or Fred. I don't think there's much to choose between McTominay and Fred. I really don't. Fred's passing is pretty poor at times. McTominay's passing isn't great. I've seen stats around showing that Matic's passing, his line-breaking passing, is the best in the club. He gets that many passes in between the midfield lines into the striker's feet.
Do you think him and Fred don't work? Because there's a good comment from Maidenhair saying they feel that McTominay and Fred work better than Matic and Fred. But I don't know. We haven't seen them play together as a two.
Matic and Fred played together against City when we beat City. They played together against Chelsea when we beat Chelsea. Matic and Fred is fine.
He doesn't do it though, does he? He hasn't done it a lot recently.
He hasn't done it yet this season. No. The problem Matic has, I wrote this the other day in a thing that I put on Twitter. The problem that's happened to Matic, and I think Ollie is a little bit like a fan at times. Matic played against Spurs. Against Spurs, we only had one holding midfield player. Pogba was playing a little bit too far forward, and Bruno was playing much too far forward. Plus, we had Greenwood, Marshall, and Rashford. It was like a 12-year-old schoolboy had picked the team, right? No wonder we got beat 6-1. People say to me, but it was only 2-1 when Marshall got sent off. If you watch that game back, we were lucky it was only 2-1 at that point. It should have been 4-1 then. They were absolutely pouring through us. And then after the game, everyone's saying how poor the defenders were. And I said to you, Mark, it's not the defenders' fault. It's the midfield and the forwards. We're just playing with no system. There's no defensive minds in the midfield apart from Matic. So two things here.
Well, to be fair, Maguire was playing like he was pissed.
He was. But I argued this with someone on Twitter. Once you get that midfield four, two or three things here, we could speak about it all night. Once you've got Mata, this is what he's done in the 2 league games since that game. Once you've got Mata, McTominay, Fred and James, Mata and James both get deep enough to help the fullbacks. When they get deep enough to help the fullbacks, then there's not enough space for the fullback, or it's more difficult for their fullbacks to get round the back or even to find space on the flank. When they're finding space on the flank, your centre-backs have to come out more and come into the wings more, right? So that's something that gets stopped straight away. Then you've got your 2 central midfield players who obviously make it more difficult for them to hit the striker with the feet, into the feet. So the defenders are going to have less defending to do, and they're going to make less mistakes just because they're having to do less and they're not having to come out to the flanks as much. And this has happened. It's happened against Chelsea. We had less defending to do against Chelsea than we did against Crystal Palace. And that's because we only had Matic, or it might have been Fred against Palace, I can't remember. But if we just come back to the Spurs game, this is what I was leading to. We started the Spurs game with Matic in the holding role. We had Pogba, who's supposed to be next to him, really, but he was a bit in front of him. And we had Bruno even further in front of that. Now, since that day, Matic has been out of favour. He's not kicked a ball since that day. And what he did at half-time is he took Matic off and he put McTominay and Fred on. So it tightened up a little bit, and we're down to 10 men then. It tightened up a little bit for the second half. The reason it tightened up a little bit was because we had 2 players playing that role rather than 1. When you're playing it on your own, you've not got a cat in hell's chance. Now then, this is where McTominay and Fred are lucky. Matic is out of the team now purely and simply because he got selected for that game. If McTominay would have been in that game on his own, he'd now be out of the team. If it was Fred who was in that team on his own, it'd be him that's now out of the team. Don't think that Matic necessarily had a bad game that day. He's on his own.
No, I agree with that point. I agree, and I would like to see Matic and Fred play together more often. For me, I do think Fred is a lot better than McTominay. He's quick, gets the ball back. His distribution he needs to work on. I wish he'd just pass it off to like Bruno or something instead of trying to hit certain passes sometimes. But I would like to see Matic and Fred playing in that role. I don't understand why he didn't pick Matic over McTominay on Saturday purely because they'd played 90 minutes and Matic hadn't played any football. So that was a strange one for them. But do you think the reason he plays 2 in that holding role now, CDMs, and we've done better, is it because he doesn't trust Lindelof and Maguire at the back? Or do you think with any centre-half you'd have to play them there?
I don't know what you think, Kev. I'll let you answer that one. But to me, I think it was a very good super chat just then. If we had a Fabinho or an Ndidi or a Kante, somebody who was a mobile CDM that he could trust, you might not need to play 2 anyway. We haven't got someone who can do that. Matic can't do that job anymore. McTominay, no chance. And Fred's not really a CDM. And also, as Beth says, the centre-back situation, Maguire and Lindelof need that protection, a bit like those Van Gaal days, which when you used to be on the show, where you've got a Smalling and Blind. Everyone you thought they were great, but actually they had bloody Schneiderlin and somebody else in front of them.
And as well, could you not coach play, like as you say, like Matt and Dan James get back on the width to provide cover for the fullbacks and the centre halves? Could you not coach players to do the same thing to get back as well? Like it doesn't have to be them in particular. You could coach players that have better talent going forward and can create better creativity to also get back and help out. And I think that's what we need to try and do. We need to find something in the middle of how we were at the start of the season and we were leaking goals and how we were against Chelsea, because I don't think the team against Chelsea was attacking enough, but it was solid at the back. And then maybe at the start it was too attacking, but not defensive enough.
I actually think we have got the answer to that, Beth, and I hope Ollie sees it, because I believe our best left winger in the club is Anthony Martial. His defensive work's fine.
I wouldn't mind seeing Martial on the
left. A
left.
lot of people think his defensive work isn't good enough. They don't get it. The thing with Martial, they don't see him racing all around the pitch or chasing after people. And the reason you don't see that is because his positional sense is good. When the opposition have got the ball, he gets himself into a position where it's difficult for them to pass it to the fullback. Anthony Martial's a brilliant left winger. So if we play with a number 9, which could be Cavani, and a number 10, which can be Bruno or Van der Beek, and then you've got, for me, our best wide right players, Juan Mata, all day long. Absolutely all day long.
We need a right winger, to be fair.
Yeah, but we've only got what we've got. We've only got what we've got.
On that, Kev, what would be, because we'll go round now, but what would be your best 11 for United going forward? Not what you think Ollie's going to do. How would you line us up?
That's a great question. Well, obviously, De Gea in net, I would go with. Centre-back pairing of Maguire. And you know what? I'd probably stick with Lindelof only because they played a lot of games together. I know Tuanzebe played well. There's an argument for Bailly when he's fit, but he never is. So I'd just go with them two. Wan-Bissaka right back. I'd probably go Luke Shaw left back. And then midfield, I would Rashford right, Martial left. I would get the 3 in the middle then of Fred. Do you know what? I'd love to see Fred, Van der Beek and Fernandes with Cavani up front. I think as a number 9, I hope that was 11 that I've just given you then.
Yeah, you have given us 11, yeah.
Because I just feel since sort of the days of Zlatan, we've not had an out-and-out number 9. I know Martial's had a crack at it up front, but just even watching, it was only a short space of time in the game yesterday, but Cavani come on, and I know he nearly scored with his first touch, but even just that slight movement, you know, I know he's not going to be chasing down and hounding everything, but you don't lose that when you're a top striker like that in the box. It's all about movement. Even if the ball doesn't come into you, you can pull somebody away, open up the space for somebody coming through. But yeah, I mean, them 3 in the midfield would excite me going forward. I think it'd be quite a positive team to kind of play, really. No
Pogba in that team for you?
No.
And it's interesting about Pogba because I do think there is a myth. I know you spoke about him last week, but I don't want to get you in too much trouble again. But Pogba plays in a midfield 2 for France, and that cannot just be, he's got Kante next to him. I think there is a bit of a myth that, and it seems to perpetuated itself this season a little bit more, that Pogba's got to play more advanced now, when actually he spent most of his career around the centre circle.
Yeah.
But go on.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I did. I mean, I made comments on the show last week. You openly asked me my thoughts on Pogba, and I give him. And I didn't think I said anything out of order. I didn't. The next day, I woke up. I had tweets from people saying I was racist. And I mean, watch the show back last week. I mean, the comments I come out with, I said I'm fed up with him flirting with the idea of Madrid. I said inconsistent. If he wants to go, let him go. I'd rather put the money into somebody else that wants to be at Man United. If that upset a few people, I'm certainly not going to apologise. It's my opinion. That's what football's all about. And without that, it'd be very boring. You know, I'm not saying I'm right, and I'm certainly not saying, you know, the people that were on at me were, you know, there was a lot of people that were in the comments that were agreeing with me and said, yeah, had enough. You know, we can use that money better off somewhere else. And the big question is, you ask yourself this, I'll turn the question around. Like, if we could have sold Pogba this summer, if Pogba said, yeah, I want to go to Real Madrid, and let's just say we got 100 million from him, he went to Real Madrid, and we got Jadon Sancho for, let's say, 110 million, so more or less nearly a straight swap, would every Man United fan be happy with that?
They would. I think I won't worry about it. I'm sure. I know, in fact, I know you don't. But the reality is with Pogba, he divides. He divides. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of match-going fans. Sorry if you're a worldwide fan. And look, for me, you're all the same. That's what United stand's always been. But there's a lot of match-going fans who don't particularly want Pogba at the club. You can't. You know, welcome to the real world. It's opinion. That's the whole. Yeah. The United stand's lived off opinion for years. So that's what it is. There was nothing in what Kev said last week that was out of order, and it was nothing that didn't surprise me because it's something I've heard before. And the reality is, whatever anybody thinks about Paul Pogba, if we hadn't have had COVID, he would be wearing a Real Madrid shirt right now, and that is well known. Circumstances change it. If Pogba wants to commit his future here and be a good player, I'm sure everyone would like to see that. But there's always going to be uncertainty about him. So no, I was just more intrigued that you wouldn't put him in. But I personally, you know, a midfield of of Fred and Van der Beek and Bruno, I don't think anyone would have a massive problem with that.
And again, I'm thinking as a system, I'm not trying to throw in all the main players, simply because you asked me that question then, and I'm looking and I'm thinking the right balance in the middle there. I know we spoke last week, and we, I think a few of us were undecided what Van der Beek actually is. Is he a number sort of 10, or is he a box to box? Or, from what I've seen, he's a midfielder. He gets up and down, and I'm thinking Fred. I think he plays that holding midfield, very, very well. He can protect the back four or the two centre backs. And obviously Bruno Fernandes at the minute picks himself, because I think he's since signing for this team, he's been nothing short of phenomenal, really. I know a lot of people say he scores penalties and that, but you still have to put him in the back of the net, don't you?
I actually thought yesterday was one of his better games in a very difficult game. He was very tidy with the ball. And I know that's one of the things that you've had a problem with him, Ricky, giving balls away. I thought he was tidy yesterday, and then everyone said he was shit. And I was like, actually, to be fair, when he got the ball, he played very maturely. He played the little 5-yard passes. And I thought Mata did as well. There just wasn't a lot going on for them. But then this is the same thing we've had against Martial. He plays in a team that creates nothing, and he's shit. So you expect that. But what about that's Kev's team, Ricky? I'm expecting yours is going to be a bit different. What would be your best 11 at the moment if everybody's available? Because obviously Martial's suspended, we know.
Well, he's not suspended in the Champions League, is he? And he's only got one more game missing in the league.
Well, I suppose, yeah, for Leipzig, everybody's available, aren't they? So go for it, yeah.
Yeah. I'll stick with the usual back four.
What's that? Is that
Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw, really, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I tell you what, Shaw got pelters yesterday as well. You know why? Because there's a little clip where Bruno says, make a run, and Luke Shaw doesn't do it. And I thought, you know what?
I've seen that clip, Mark.
He should make the run. It's about 80 minutes into the game as well. He's been back and forward all bloody game.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Whoever put that on, and he's saying like Bruno expects him. It's actually Bruno who does something wrong there. Luke Shaw is literally, you can't see, he's stood there with his hands out. Just give it me. He's 20 yards deeper than Bruno. If he gives what people can't imagine when they're watching a game of football is what could happen next. If he just gives that ball to Shaw, the two players that are near Bruno move. Shaw might easily be able to play Bruno in behind. And what Bruno does, playing it across the field, is a silly ball. He gives the ball, I think it was to Fred, who was much further across the field. And with players, think of this, Fred had players closer to him, plus the ball's got to travel further. So while the ball's travelling to Fred, those players are closing him down. If Bruno just gives that ball to Shaw, Shaw's got oceans of space. Shaw knows that. Shaw knows that. I mean, oceans of space here. Just give me the ball. It's actually Bruno's mistake. It's not Shaw's mistake. He doesn't do anything wrong.
I just come back on that and say this as well. In addition, Tellez is injured, people. Like, whatever you think about Luke Shaw, are you going to play Brandon Williams, who's probably a championship left back and a right-footed one? Like, Luke Shaw's the best left back we can play yesterday. If you're moaning about the overlapping run, that's why we've bought Tellez, and he was injured. So I don't really get the point of the clip. But go on, what's your team, Ricky?
I'd go with the usual back four: Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, and Shaw. I'd stick with Juan Mata on the right on Wednesday night. I'd bring Anthony Martial in on the left. I'm an absolute stickler for two defensive-minded midfield players. When we're in their half, when a team moves up and down together like that, and we do not need one of our two central midfield players bombing into the box and leaving big gaps behind. When we've got the pressure on them, it's up to our midfield players to be within 20 yards of their box to keep the pressure on them. And they come up as a pair. They move up and down the pitch as a pair. So if McTominay's fit, I'd go with McTominay and Matic. If not, I'd go with Fred and Matic in the middle of the field. I would keep Mata on the right. I'd bring Anthony Martial in on the left. I'm not 100% certain that Cavani's ready for the full game. Look, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I hope he is. So I'm going to say Cavani. And at number 10 for this game, I believe it's time to give Van der Beek a run. I really do. I think it's what's happening to him. And I've said this to you on the fan cam, man. There's no point giving him a game on the right. The kid's come here for 40 million quid. His natural position is number 10. Don't give him a game on the left wing. Don't give him a game on the right wing. Give him a game at number 10. I know Bruno's playing well. Bruno's played 6 games. He's played all 5 league games. He's played the Champions League game. You know, we've now got a home game in the Champions League. And that team is a solid team. It's a solid, strong team, like we've played in the last 3 games, by the way, with just a couple of little tweaks.
No Rashford.
Well, you know, if you want to give somebody a run, you want to give Marshall a run on the left. You want to give Cavani a run at number 9. Like I said to you, Mark, you can only play 11.
Well, no, the only reason I bring it up is because I think, and I don't think it's anything to do with the amazing work he's doing off the pitch. So don't have a go at me for this, because he's doing great things off the pitch, but I'm judging him on the pitch here. I didn't think he was a number 9 last season when Martial got injured, and I don't think he's a number 9 for the last few games either. I know he scored a cracking goal in Paris, but he was up front in the front too. I know he got 2 goals, 2 assists and a goal, didn't he, against Newcastle? But I just don't think he's a centre forward, Ricky. To me, he's a left-sided player, and he's better running onto the ball than with the ball to his feet.
Yeah, he isn't a number 9, definitely not. Ollie himself in the past has said he's not good enough. You see the 2 runs you mentioned? What Cavani did yesterday. He made a near post run for the one from when Bruno crossed.
We've got no one who can do this, though, have we?
Yeah, he's a proper number 9. So and he flicked that one, it hit the side netting, and then he made
the front post one. Yeah,
he made another near post run when Greenwood managed to get it across, and his shot got blocked. He's a proper number 9. He'd scored a lot of goals playing with the right players.
Yeah, you know I'm excited to see him. Beth, you've had lots of time to think. What's your 11 then?
I mean, my 11 that I'd play Leipzig is not my starting 11.
Go with your best then. We've had Kev's best. We've had Ricky's Leipzig. We'll have your best.
I mean, I agree with the fact you can only play 11. I don't think Bruno, Pogba, and Van der Beek can play in the same team. I'm not that naive, but the problem with Matic and McTominay is I think you miss Fred's energy. So for me, I think you play Wan-Bissaka. If Tuanzebe can play the way he did against PSG, then I'd play Tuanzebe in that position. With either Maguire or Lindelof, I don't think it makes much difference. I think they're both much of a muchness, to be honest. And I'd play Telles at left back purely because I've seen this heat map. And when Telles played, I know he was playing wing back, so it's a slightly different position. He was getting right down on that left-hand side, and it gave players more space in the middle. I mean, when Luke Shaw plays, he struggles to get a cross in, and he struggles to go forward. That's just my opinion. So he drags the wide players out and the strikers out, so you've got no one up front. But anyway, I'd go then in front of that. I'd go Fred and Matic, because I think Fred's energy complements Matic's calmness. It can protect the back 4, and then the 3 in front of that, I'd play Bruno in the 10. You can't drop Bruno on his form that he's in. I'd play Rashford on the left. I think there's a very clear difference to when Martial played and even Cavani played than when Rashford plays up front. I think he's a left winger. I don't think he's a centre forward. He can play that role okay, but he's not a centre forward. And then I'd give Van der Beek a chance on the right, purely because I don't think there's that much difference between him and Mata, apart from the fact he's younger and he's quicker maybe. And if you tell him to get back, I mean, he's played in the CDM role for Ajax before. I'm sure he can. And then up front, I'd play Martial as my number 9, but purely because I don't think Cavani's fit yet to start as a number 9, but I was excited to see what he did when he came on. Thought he made great runs, but the problem is there was no service because there was no width to get the ball in the box, and there was not much creativity from the midfield.
So you'd have let me just get that right: Matic and Fred,
yeah,
Bruno at the head, Van der Beek to the right, Rashford to the left, Martial up front.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that, and no Pogba again. I don't like it because of that, by the way. Pogba fans, you know me, I like Pogba.
I don't have any hate against Pogba. I mean, people say, "Oh, she's Pogba hater." I'm not a Pogba hater. I think he's probably the most talented player in our club. The problem is he's been inconsistent for quite a while, and we've not found his best position in the team. I mean, you can't drop Bruno, and Van der Beek deserves a chance, and then he doesn't fit in. So that's my logic with that.
Yeah. Sorry, Ricky, were you saying?
I was just going to say, I appreciate everything there that Beth said, but one thing that I found dead interesting was Cavani came on, and there was no creativity, to get the ball to him. And he came on at the same time that we took our most creative player off in the game.
What, Dan James?
Yeah, one matter.
You even nearly went, yeah. Then
I sometimes think there's no forethought.
Say what, Ricky? Just get him in from the next room. We know he lives with you. Come on.
I was hoping Pogba could provide the long ball over to him, but it didn't seem to happen.
I just, on Pogba as well, the big thing for me and the reason I like all those teams, and none of them have got Pogba in there. And I will do my team, but it's not my show. I'll probably do it tomorrow. But I just don't think he's fit. And Ollie even said it. He said he has had coronavirus, and you thought, like coronavirus can be quite dilapidating or whatever the word is. But it just brings me back to Van der Beek. Why are we bringing a player on who's not fit for half an hour? And we've got Donny van der Beek, who's like, he's probably there. I'm surprised he's not running up and down the steps to show him how fit he is. Look, I'm not tired, Ollie. I'm ready. And he's not using him.
Mark, that's a fantastic point.
I agree with that. I mean, everyone's questioning why Van der Beek isn't starting, but he must sit there and think.
He also said, Beth, as well. I'm terrible because I'll forget. But what he also said, and this is no word of a lie, after the game yesterday, he said Pogba basically probably isn't quite ready. And it was a bit unfair of me to play him in the first 3 games of the season. And it's like, oh, my God, don't be saying this. Don't say this. There's people who want you to be sacked, Ollie. Don't admit you played a player that was nowhere near fit. I mean, this was, 4 or 5 weeks ago we played Palace. So, I mean, what would you say to those people, Kev? I mean, I know you're behind the manager, but look, he has made a few mistakes. He had a brilliant week at the start of it. The end of it, it's still not a bad result. Do you have any, empathy or understanding of why some people are out there going, Ollie out, he's a PE teacher, he's got to go, we've got to get Poch in? Is that in your, how do you feel about that? And what do you feel about the future, especially like Arsenal next week, which is a massive game?
I think as long as Pochettino's sat there and he's not took a job, that speculation will always be there. But for me, to hit the reset button again, I mean, how many years have we had of this now since, I mean, don't get me wrong, we were spoiled. We had Sir Alex Ferguson, the best manager of his generation at Manchester United at the helm. So we were spoiled with that. And when he left, obviously, David Moyes, I never 100% agree behind the choice of that. I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson should have been in a position. Well, he was in a position to, say, I think you should give it to him. But Man United, as the biggest club in the world, should have been looking for the best manager for the job at that time. Since then, it's just been one sort of car crash after another, if you like. And again, I just look at it now and I think, really, do you really want to go and sack Solskjaer now for Pochettino? People say Solskjaer hasn't won anything. What's Pochettino actually won at Spurs? And this he's brilliant with the youth players. He brings players through and that. Oh, well, the Glazers would love that, wouldn't they? Because they're not going to give him any money. Pochettino barely spent anything at Tottenham. So they'll look at that and think, we'll get Pochettino in. But again, I always said, I want Man United to give Solskjaer 4 or 5 transfer windows to bring in his team. And let's not forget, he is still clearing Deadwood out of this team. We've still got the likes of Journeyman, Phil Jones, Rojo. There's still Deadwood in that squad from previous managers that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer don't want in his squad. So my argument would be, another couple of transfer windows. Let's see where he's at. But yeah, no, don't be pushing that button again. Just quiet this minute. And certainly Pochettino I wouldn't be too excited to see him come into Man United at this moment.
Get in! Leicester are winning. Apparently Leicester have scored.
Oh, because of my comment then.
I was going to. It was for your comment, actually.
Yeah.
Get in, Kev. Get in. I knew there was a reason I brought you back.
I'm going to clip that.
Yeah, just clip that little bit. Yeah. Vardy, go on. I'll tell you what. This season, though, I like it because I don't like Arsenal. But I mean, it probably puts more pressure on us next week, actually, Ricky, if Arsenal lose. But the reality is, even though we've had a bad start to the season, that Burnley game, I looked at the fixtures today, we can't even fit it in. We can't even fit that game in hand in because every bloody week until I think it's the end of January, there's a match. It's like weekend, midweek or international break. So we're not going to get that game in hand for ages. So in my mind, that game in hand is 3 points. I know it might not be, but I just think we'll add 3 points on. And when you add it on, we've got 10 points. Well, Everton have got 13. So it's like, it's not been a great start to the season, but who else has had a great start to the season, including Liverpool? And yet there's a lot of people who are adamant that Ollie's not the man. He's got no tactics. What do you think the future is for United now? Do you think he's going to sort of have this Champions League and Premier League team? Do you think he's going to play conservative, or do you think he will? I mean, look, we've taken 1 point from how many games have we had at home? 1 point from 9. It's home to Arsenal next week. Do you see much of a change in his approach to games? Do you think, or do you think it's going to be a balancing act for a few more weeks yet?
I'm a bit worried, mate. I am a bit worried for him. I'll tell you why. First of all, can I just touch on this? You're on about the points tally and what we could have and what we might have and what could happen. I bet he wishes. Everyone's talking about all these attacking players. We've got to get Bruno in. Bruno's in. We've got to get Pogba in next to Bruno. We missed in Greenwood. Blah blah blah. All these players played against Palace and all these players played against Spurs. I bet Ollie would give his right hand to replay those 2 games with this team that he's picking now. I bet he'd give his right hand. Do you know what I mean? We almost certainly wouldn't have got beat by Palace playing in this shape, and we probably would have won. We'd have 10 points now. What was your question?
Just like what I mean, I suppose it's a similar sort of question to what I said to Kev. Really, there is a lot of negativity out there at the moment, and look, I fight it like everybody else does, but everyone is entitled to their opinion, and we are a fan channel, and there are a lot of people out there who are absolutely convinced he's a Wally, he's not the right man. Yesterday was evidence of that. He's a coward. He's got no tactics. I know that's not necessarily what you think.
After an hour yesterday, when it was going okay, in as much as that it was 0-0 and we'd had a couple of chances, we still would have got a couple more chances. We didn't get any more extra chances in the last half hour. We probably got 2 by making all those subs.
What are you doing? Touch on the fucking left.
Sorry.
I'll bet my bottom dollar we still would have got a couple of chances if he wouldn't have made any changes. Do you see where I'm coming from with that?
Yeah.
We got a couple of chances. We didn't get any. Although we kept dominating the game and we had pressure on him, we did create loads of chances. The one for Cavani that got blocked. So now the thing is, like I said to you, with not long left, we've ended up again with Pogba, Bruno, Greenwood, Cavani, which would have been Marshall, and Rashford. He's gone back to what was playing against Spurs and against Palace. It seems to be that this is what he's got in his head, which is his best team. So to answer your question, I think he will at some stage go back to that. If he goes back to that team against Arsenal, I'll be staggered if we manage to beat them, and we will probably get beat.
It's interesting you've said that. So you think you're worried he's going to go back to the team that everyone likes, and you'd rather he kept with this team of yesterday?
Well, this team getting the results.
Yeah. I just think it plays into Arsenal's hands. Beth, what about you? What do you think the future holds? Not what you would do, but what Ollie's going to do. Do you think he will persist with that sort of 11 of yesterday, or do you think we've seen the end of that now?
I'd be very surprised if he does persist with it. But then again, he seemed quite happy at the end of the match, so you don't know really. I just think, just to touch on that point, I don't think we can keep playing that way. I mean, we couldn't really string many passes together yesterday. And again, as I've said before, we didn't have much attacking option. I know Ricky was saying when the subs came on, we didn't have much either, but we can't play every game. Like you said, Crystal Palace wouldn't been losing all that. We can't play every game just hoping for like maybe a 1-0 or something like that and going defensive for the start of the game. That's not what I want to see as a Manchester United fan. I appreciate a draw wasn't the worst result against Chelsea. The only thing that frustrated me is I think we could have got the 3, but I said that. But I think he's got to work out a way to play a mix of with the attack that we had at the start and the defense that we have now. I mean, I think if you pick the team that I chose, I think that's the best chance that we have, because you've got the creativity, you've got the pace, and you've got the cushion in front of the back 4. I think that's the balance that he needs, and I hope he does go forward with that. I don't know if he will, because obviously he's not seemed to like playing Matic and Fred in the midfield, and he's got Champions League, so people are going to need resting here and there and stuff like that. But I think if he wants to keep his job, he's got to change the team that played against Chelsea, because you can't keep going, and then if he doesn't get results, people will be like, you've got your best players on the bench. You can't keep going with that. I think he's going to have to change it up a bit. I don't know if he'll revert fully to the team that he had before, because again, we were leaking goals, we were open at the back. Like, no one's going to deny that. But I think he can't go with the team that we played against Chelsea, because there's just not enough creativity or not going forward.
Interesting thing, Kev, is I was just looking at it there. 6 points separate United in 5th and top, and we've got a game in hand. Ollie might be sat there tonight going, I don't know what people are moaning about. I'm a genius. I got a draw yesterday. I'm doing really well. Get yourself on another run, Dan. Where's Ricky? Where's Ricky's number? Ricky, I'll have a chat with you in a bit. I need to speak to your godson, Dan. It's working. Do you think he'd dare? Do you think he'd dare pick that team again, or do you think that is it? He won't do that again now.
The exact.
Sorry, that's the Kev. Sorry, Ricky.
Sorry.
Oh, you can answer it in a minute.
Do I think he'll pick that team that he chose yesterday?
Well, he's doing it. The thing I had with that, the problem I had with that team yesterday is that it was the team he picked against Newcastle. And I think some people went, well, he's showing loyalty to that. But the thing is, it was 1-1 against Newcastle with that team. It was the other players that came on and won it. And I agree with Ricky that the groundwork had been done. But yesterday, it was lackluster. Do you think we've seen? That's obviously his Premier League 11 at the moment. Ricky's right. Do you think he would do that against Arsenal, or do you think he'll have moved on from that now and realised that, I can't play James, Mata, McTominay, Fred around Bruno and Rashford?
I can't imagine he would do that. Again, it's just how you look at it yesterday. You might think that a point was a good result, and you might think that Chelsea will be there in and around us, challenging to get in the top 4. But again, I just think... looking at the setup of that team, I can't imagine that he would play Mata, McTominay, Fred, Dan James, in the same team. And this was a big game as well. It's not, no disrespect to the likes of Brighton or somebody like that. It's, this was Chelsea at Old Trafford. It's a very, very big game. They've been title rivals down the years, these two. So it was, I can't imagine that he would play that team again. Maybe in, I don't know, the Carabao Cup or something, or, to give people a run out or something. I don't know. But no, I can't imagine it was a big Premier League game that yesterday, so I can't imagine it, mate. No.
Would you rather he plays the team that gets beat 6-1 by Spurs, Kev, then, and the team that lost 3-1 to Crystal Palace? Would you rather that? Is that better?
You can meet in the middle, though, with them teams. You can meet in the middle. I mean, it doesn't have to be.
It's not an either or. It's not an either or. You can put a different team out.
I was shocked when I saw the team against
sitting on the fence.
Well, look, we've done the show anyway. It's flown by, which always means it's been a good one. So I really have enjoyed it. And look, people said it was just a boring game. There wasn't much to talk about. There's always loads to talk about. And I think the one thing we have spoke about, and we spoke about it last week, is that you're only as good as your last game in this run of games. Very happy with PSG, very happy with Newcastle. And the Chelsea game wasn't a loss, but it did bring the mood down. But it's only Wednesday night we're playing Leipzig. And if we win that, and we do need to win it, we can't mess about. Leipzig beat the Turkish side and we beat PSG. If we drop points to Leipzig, opens the door to PSG again. And then Arsenal a week tonight. God, I'm not confident, but I'm not saying we're going to win it either. You just don't know with this league. And one thing Ollie did say was that, and I don't like it, is that if we'd had a crowd there tomorrow, it might have been a bit different. Well, everyone's in the same boat, Ollie. You've got to adapt to that. I do agree that having a home Old Trafford crowd would have been a difference, but I still think we would have lost to Spurs with a home crowd because we didn't play well and we had a man sent off. So yeah, it's a big week to come. But really enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on, Ricky.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you. It was good to get everyone's opinions.
It's always friendly afterwards. And cheers, Kev, for coming on. Nice to get you back on again.
Thank you very much. Time flies when you're having fun. Can't believe that's just over an hour.
Yeah, we might have to shift it next week actually, because Sunday night we won't be able to do Sunday night because the match itself. So we'll try and sort out maybe next Monday night or something like that. But thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Really enjoyed it. And we will speak to you. Well, I'll be back in the morning, but we will speak to you during the week. Lots to go forward. And look, ending on a positive. We're going to beat Burnley. No one ever loses to Burnley. And we'll be 3 points off the top. Let's celebrate. Go. Kick it. Let's go. See ya. Thanks, everyone.